people events to do things and places where they feel comfortable learning and being with their fellow peers. That's what this place is all about.
Alright, so I'd say one of the bigger concerns that I've noticed on campus would be accessibility. I feel like a lot of students, don't take advantage of all the opportunities we have here. And it's not because they're not there, it's because they don't know they exist. And I feel like, we have all these websites and apps and all these different ways that you can get more involved on campus or use other tools to help you academically or in extracurriculars. But I feel like a lot of times those go unnoticed. And so I think a major way to address that would be to create more physical ways of advertising. So I know we have that big board in the on top of the sub. I feel like we could use that to advertise, these different ways of, getting more involved and also using all your resources, because we have a lot of resources here. SGA works on creating more resources, and I feel like they go unused.
Okay, so I think we can all kind of agree that SGA is sort of this bridge between the student population and kind of our department heads, our staff here and faculty. And so one of the big things I want is for our student body voice to be heard and for the issues to be addressed quickly and efficiently. And I feel like we've kind of been lacking in that department, especially in academics. I know there was a big thing with the physics department earlier this semester where I feel like, we handled it, but the process could have been expedited, and I feel like it could have been avoided somewhat, or just, I know there was a lack of communication overall, so I just want to make sure that everybody is heard and that Florida Tech, especially as a STEM school, should be the best it can be within academics. Yeah.
One of the things I think Florida Tech has is endless opportunities. There are so many things that our school offers that students either don't take advantage of or don't always know about. I think very similar to what Charlie said, accessibility is a super important thing. But even a perfect example is our Senate. We only have a certain amount of people running for more seats than, there's more senators, there's not enough senators running for as many seats as there are in the Senate. And I think making sure that students know these opportunities are something that they should be taking advantage of, and that it's something that is fun, and putting in the work is something that you will see the reward afterwards. So I think that making sure that is something the students know, and making sure that they start to shift that way in their mindset is something that's really important.
Okay, one of the major issues on this campus is student community, and how there's this huge gap between the student community, be it between students, between clubs, between people of different cultures, even people who either commute to campus and those who live on campus. They all feel like they're from these different walks of life and that there's no common bridge that they can both unite on. And so I want to be able to bridge that gap essentially. Now that could be done through multiple ways. One of them is having more commuter lounges on campus where people who commute to campus can actually stay and have fun and communicate with more people. Another way to do this is, especially when it comes to events, a lot of people feel like they aren't heard or what they want in events isn't there. So one of the ways that we can do that is we can host open event planning meetings where students can actively come in, see how the event is planned, which also gives them an insight into how leadership works and how they'd actually be doing this if they did run for leadership, and help plan in that event. Give in their feedback then and there so we can actively show students that we're listening to them, we're trying to help you, and that this is how leadership would work if you were to run for that position. If you want to bring a change, feel free to run for that position.
That's time.
I would like to echo the sentiment of a lot of the candidates here by saying that I do think that a huge problem here is the lack of community. In coming here from a bigger school, I found that I almost felt more alone here with less people than in a bigger school with way more people. And I thought that a big reason why that was happening was because there was such a lack of support for people of color and international people. is nothing really for us here. I felt that we were not cared for, and that is why I want to be part of ASA. That is why I want to continue to work with the student community, period. And I want to have that impact. I want to, as the president of ASA, only this semester, I've already made events happen. I want to continue doing that. I want to have collabs, just like, my candidates also said. I want to continue to have an impact on us, people of color and minorities, and make sure that, as you said, there is a bridge between us. Yes, period. Thank you.
Okay, so the next question, and we'll start again with you, will be, how do you plan to seek input and the thoughts of students before making decisions on their behalf?
I think I'm going to give a pretty boring answer, but listening. There are many ways to listen, right? I think first we need to figure out the best way to communicate with students. Maybe it is forums, maybe it is through Instagram, maybe it is through Twitter, maybe it's just the board in the library. Who knows? But the point is we should figure out what that way is and implement that. Other ways are actually having events, just like we discussed just now, where the whole point is for us to sit and listen, whatever it is that they have to say, for us to listen. And later on to make sure that we actually implement it. But yeah, in a word, listen.
Okay, so there are a couple of ways to address this issue. The first that I would like to bring up once again is having open events where open event planning. So essentially students can come in, see how the event is planned, give their feedback then and there, and see if we can come to a consensus where everyone is included. Another way to do this is actually advertising open office hours. Every senator and every member of this SGA has office hours. Advertise open office hours, so students who don't feel so free to speak in a group or speak in an event like that can come up to you individually and be like, hey, I trust you, I want to talk to you about something. This is something that I feel like we can really do. And also getting input from clubs, getting input from other faculty, getting input from other departments on this campus is very important as well when we look at the educational side of things, not just the community side of things, to help student government essentially address that issue.
One of the things I feel like I've learned in my term as a senator is that you get the best advice from students and you hear the most from them when you're not expecting to. So I think, echoing what Sonia said, absolutely listening to them, but I think making sure that as a senator, I put myself out there as an advocate, because the Instagram polls sometimes don't always work. Depends on what you're looking at. The forms don't always work. You don't always get responses. I think that making sure we're always there, not just when there's an Instagram poll, we're listening for the advice. I think that one of the most important, they don't always expect us to just be there as a senator at all times. That's what we should be. We should always be there, ready for their advice and ready to make a change, make sure they feel heard.
Okay, I think kind of emphasizing what everybody said, listening, but then also exploring many different avenues and trying to diversify and get as much of a variety as we can, utilizing social media or surveys or office hours, just trying to pull in all the information we can, because a lot of it is going to flop and we're going to not get serious answers, but there's going to be a select few where there's genuinely people who are reaching out to us and kind of being vulnerable and asking hey, can we make this better? How can we increase our make our campus the best it can be? And we have to really pick and choose those answers, and it's our job to find those in kind of the masses and really work with that and try to improve our campus the best way that we can. So listening, but then also exploring many different avenues and kind of repeatedly doing this over and over so we can hear from the voices, especially those that often get unheard.
All right, so I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I agree with what everyone else has said. I think the biggest way to best represent students on campus and their what their concerns are is just listening, and whether that be through social media, the board in the library, setting up events. There are numerous ways we can improve on getting students to be open about their problems on campus. And I think another big issue, or another big solution to this, I should say, is asking questions. Like, I feel like I have a pretty good network on campus, and I don't ask enough questions about, what do you think about this, or what do you think about this? And I think, maybe setting up those events, and when you're tabling them, the students that come up, maybe ask them a question like, if there was one thing you could improve on campus, what would it be? I think that would be a good strategy.
So my approach to this is listening to people is pretty easy. You just stand out. Everybody talks to a bunch of people every day. Everybody here is a outgoing extracurricular person because you're here and you're running for the government. But the one thing is, no matter how much you listen, if people don't know what the issues are, they won't know what to complain about. Me personally, I haven't been really into the news any part of my life until recently. And now that I know more about how the United States is working, I'm way more scared and concerned. So, if people know the issues that are happening, if SGA is transparent and constantly getting things out, updates that tell people what's going on, they're gonna come to you with solutions. I mean, we got a bunch of smart people here. We go to a private tech school. If you put out the questions, people will deliver answers. And you just gotta be there to grade the tests. Simple as that.
So, SGA is extremely privileged on this campus. We get a lot of resources, and obviously we have a lot of money coming through here. And it's our job to take that money and give it back to the students in ways that would benefit the students. Unfortunately, sometimes you can kind of fall victim as an SGA of being approached by executive members of the university that say, hey, you should spend money on this. Instead of the students coming to us, or us as students being like, hey, we think we should spend our money on this. So my committee was able to kind of identify that early on. We were like, hey, we want to talk more to the students. So we put up a whiteboard outside our office. It tells everyone name by name, when people, hour by hour in our office. We have our suggestion box. And then we were kind of working with PR to get that out there, get our office out there. But the best thing you can do is just make sure that you're talking to students, get out there, talk to them, do our tabling, come to our tabling and talk to us, and just be a kind face. Because we want to help you, and we want to follow through on those things that you want. And that's all. Thank you, guys.
Just as a heads up for everyone, if we do have time at the end, there will be the opportunity to ask individuals certain questions, but for the sake of time, we are holding off on that to make sure that we have the time to do so. Will the next round of senator candidates please come forward? Just confirming there's no one on this list who isn't up here yet.
People aren't here.
Okay, so you guys can start whichever way you'd like, just go down the line and introducing yourselves real quick.
Hi, I'm Sanaya Grant. I'm a freshman here. I was elected as a freshman rep last semester, and then I ran again for this semester. I'm a starting to be mechanical engineer. And then, honestly, I always wanted to be in student community committee. And I've always, honestly, that's been my top choice. I just like to be that voice for anyone who needs to be heard, whether it's through diversity, inclusivity, or literally anything that we do on campus. I've been a part of the club since last semester, and then we've come up with so many cool stuff. I'm honestly excited to be a part of it next semester. So yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Ananaya Piango. I am an international student from Trinidad and Tobago, which is in the Caribbean. I am a sophomore studying biomedical engineering. I have a lot of experience where leadership is concerned. In my high school, I was student ambassador as well as president of the student council. At Florida Tech, I am a undergraduate research assistant. I was also the community engagement support lead for Relay for Life, and I'm also part of the Senate. I've been a part of the Senate since early January, so it's been less than a semester. But what I can say is that I really enjoyed my time. I was a part of the DEIA, now known as the Student Community Committee. And under the amazing leadership of Emma, we were able to get a lot done. We were able to celebrate a lot of different diversities on this campus, and we got a lot of amazing feedback. And I would like to rerun for Senate again, just to be able to show students that we're still celebrating them in light of like recent politics. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Lachlan McElveen. I'm a sophomore studying aerospace engineering. I joined SGA this January. It's been a brief time, but it's been fun so far, and I've enjoyed just kind of getting involved and being more involved on campus. I'm a member of ATO, where I've had a couple leadership positions to that, and then I'm also serving as lead staff next year for orientation. So for fall orientation, trying to introduce them to the campus community, I guess. And I'm just hoping to continue being a senator for next year, just to keep growing myself and hopefully better the campus community.
Hello, my name is Ellie. I'm a freshman studying physics. I've not been part of SGA before, but I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to kind of just get in the community with a lot of people, help people reach out, and just get more involved in a lot of things on campus. Yeah.
So I will start down at this end with the first question, which is, what policies or initiatives would you propose to improve student life on campus?
Honestly, I like to enforce the ones that we have as of right now. I do feel like we do have a lot of great stuff, and then just making sure that all the stuff that we do have is actually seen by the students. There's so many stuff that we do have that I didn't know until I joined SGA, and just definitely, again, like bridging that gap and just making sure that it doesn't matter how we get out there, as long as they do know, because it will better our campus. So, yeah.
I would like to enforce what Sanai said. I think we do have a lot of great policies. One of the ones that I want to take more of a lead on is the mental health one, because I think that a lot of students on this campus suffer from anxiety, depression, or simple burnout sometimes throughout the semester. And I feel as if though, even though we have the resources, a lot of students are afraid to come forward and afraid to talk to someone, whether it be because they're a flight student, they don't want it shown on their flight record, or simply because it's just a tedious process. I know that we started working on that in SGA, so I would just like to kind of continue that and make sure that it's done efficiently. Yeah.
I would like to just re-highlight and make sure that the policies we do have, because there's a lot of avenues that you can go down. You have a lot of choices when you come here, but there's not everything is kind of shown when you get here. So just making sure everyone knows kind of how you can grow in this community, because if you go one way, you'll end up doing nothing sitting in your dorm room versus like getting involved on campus, showing that like you can do awesome things, get involved, have a lot of fun, and enjoy your time at college. So it's just re-highlighting those and making sure that the community of the school and incoming students are aware of what the campus has to offer.
I mean, I certainly appreciate our existing policies. I think, like, one of the main points I really, think about a lot is, the library. The library is a great academic resource. You can see a lot of people just go there, there's groups of people, they study, and that's an amazing academic resource, but I feel like we really lack emphasis sometimes on other student spaces. So like the student center, a lot of people don't even go there, but it's like kind of an alternate, like the other side of the coin to the library almost. It's somewhere where people can actually go and hang out and have it not be an academic focused space. So like we talk about having fun, enjoying your time in college, and I feel like having this kind of like space for people to just go hang out and be social and just collaborate and network. Student organizations, the SGA office, but so many people don't even go there. So I feel like putting more of an emphasis on that space would help develop that area to be like as cool as like the library is, but for social instead of academics.
So for the next question, we'll start down at this end, and it is, what unique perspectives, voices, or expertise do you believe that you bring to the role of senator?
Honestly, I don't really know. I'm just kind of here, and I think that's cool. But I think having a focus on kind of just the more like social community aspect while still appreciating the academic aspect is, I don't know if it's necessarily unique, but I think hopefully it's a good perspective to have, and I don't know, that's it.
I guess I'm from the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, so everyone around me is very stubborn, so that's a fun point to have. So I'm working to be more open to whether to changing my opinion, but also just making sure that whenever something important is getting portrayed, going out to talk about during Senate or whatever, making sure it's if it's not just glossed over, it's emphasized. So that's kind of a key point on that. It's just that area, if you've ever been there, it's full of very stubborn people. It's pretty funny. And then another fun perspective is I'm part of Greek life here. There's a lot of Greek members here in the audience. It's a blast. We had Greek Week, one of the best times of the year. But just having that community as well, having the support and getting involved in Senate. So just having both of those different voices is what I bring to the table.
For me, I would say, and this is based off of my experience, but as an international student, it has been very easy for me to talk and communicate with a lot of other international students here. I feel one of the main reasons is because we're all new to this country and we're new to this space, and so we like to talk. But I think that's a great perspective to have, and I think if I'm elected to be a senator again, I would like to bring that same sort of relationship and communication here so that they feel more comfortable talking to me or talking to us as a committee or community, and we're able to address the problems that they have.
I feel like what I bring to the table is that I feel like I'm a very open person, and I feel like I could be definitely a safe space for a lot of people. And I feel like a lot of people can just, approach me, I guess. So I also love to listen, so I feel that anyone can just come up and I'll chat with you. I like to get out, to be honest. And then honestly, I feel like through my background of being in so many different clubs, and through high school, NHS, Interact Club, and now Rotaract Club. Honestly, I just feel like I also bring that leadership side, and just knowing how to get things done. So yeah.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, if you want to start on either end and introduce yourselves.
You guys will start. I'm Joshua Rios. I am a member of the RTC here, and I was a senator for the past academic year.
I'm Nadia. I've been a senator since my freshman year, but this last semester I switched over to justice, which is still involved in SGA. And I had a lot of fun. I really want to continue helping make decisions with the school. And I'm also involved in Gamma Phi Beta. I'm a parliamentarian.
Hi, I'm Ria Sharma. I've been a part of SJ since October, and I have really enjoyed my time in SJ so far, and I'm looking to rerun as a senator. and continue enforce the policies that we have in doing so.
So my name is Nate Reese. I'm a freshman aerospace engineering student. This is my second semester. I was never a part of SGA. This is my first time running or anything. I'm rushing Hi-Fi this semester, and then I'm a part of other stuff like esports here. But I guess the reason I want to run is I want to help better the people here, better the community, better the school. But then I also want to grow as a person. I like to listen to people and learn from people, so I feel like this is a great place for me to do that.
I'm Caitlin Voss. I'm a freshman in ocean engineering, and this semester was my first time in SGA. And I was in the quality of life committee, and I just feel like I want to continue with that and just make people more comfortable and just safer on campus.
Hello everyone, my name is Cedric Taban. I am a freshman majoring in aerospace engineering. This is my second term with SGA. I was a freshman rep my first term. I am now a senator my second term. I currently serve the Student Facilities Committee. I'm also part of Panther Robotics as a team lead in combat robotics. I personally want to rerun and stay as an SGA senator because I like being the voice for people whose voices go unheard.
My name is Diego Texera, majoring in aviation management with flight. I was appointed back in January, so I just got like a little glimpse of what SGA is and what we do here. So with that, I'm looking forward to getting more involved this term in SGA and seeing what else it has to offer.
Okay, and for the first question, we're going to start down on this end. The first question is, how do you plan to ensure that the concerns of both large and small student organizations are addressed in SGA meetings?
So this kind of just goes back to what the previous candidates were talking about when it comes to listening. Just listening to the people in my class, people around campus, hear what they need. I have a lot of friends who are in bigger organizations. I am currently the secretary of a rather small club here on campus, and yeah, just in general, keeping my ears open and listening to what people need.
I think just like you said, listening to what people need. I think it's just being a person that people know they can come to, and being a kind person, and welcoming, and just putting yourself out there and talking to all the different clubs and organizations. And I know something Emma did with the DEIA committee last semester was she went and talked to them, personally attended their meetings, at least one of them, and got their feedback. And I thought that was really good ideas. Something like that.
I want to echo the statements of my previous fellow peers at SJ. I also agree that we do need to continue to listen and just make sure that people feel that their voices are being heard. I think there's also an emphasis that we do need to put on underrepresented groups and marginalized groups on campus. I know that's something that we've been doing in DIA, which is now student community. I really enjoy the DIA collab sessions, and I believe it's such an interesting way for us to engage with diverse student organizations on campus to make sure that their needs are being met, especially like for different clubs such as women in aviation or women in like SWE for Society of Women Engineers. Just those are very just smaller clubs on campus, and we need to make sure that we're helping them out more, listening to their concerns, bringing it to the Senate floor, and just being there as somebody to hear and help them.
So I'd say for me, personally, I love listening to people yap. If you need someone to talk to, whatever it is, I'll just sit there for hours and listen and learn about you. But if I gotta get out there with a microphone and a sign and ask people what they want, I will. But I feel like I have a pretty unique perspective, or I know like a wide variety of people being involved with Greek life, esports, trying to get as active in the community as possible around here, not just in the school. But I feel like I talk to a lot of different people and I can get a lot of different inputs, whether it's just the people who are very social and the people who just stick to themselves. So I feel like I get a good aspect of what people want and make their voices heard.
I would say listening is important, but also like communicating. I feel like all of us, we do hit like every aspect of clubs. So just being more involved in your club and asking people like, what do you think the problem is? How do you communicate? And then I feel like also being in the STEM community, but also being in Kaleidoscope, I get to see more of like the science and the arts, and how most of the time people do very, very like differently, and how like their brain works and how they want this school to benefit them. And so I'd just say getting more involved in like listening to that side, but also the other side, and combining with that.
So to repeat the question, as requested, was how will you ensure that the concerns of both large and small student organizations are addressed in student government association meetings?
So it's true, some small groups, some clubs, some small communities are greatly underrepresented at Florida Tech. From personal experience, Panther Robotics is one of the smaller niche groups that not a lot of people know about or not a lot of people are a part of. And we primarily get our funding through different resources other than the SGA, so we're not as involved as, in more SGA related activities than some of the other clubs like DEIA related clubs, student community clubs, sorry. One way that I like to put myself out there is just by going up to clubs, going to their meetings, getting to know everybody, getting to see firsthand what smaller clubs do, what smaller communities, niche communities do. I remember my first Panther Robotics meeting, it was it was literally like 5 people, and it was all people very much that love robotics. My point here is that just putting ourselves out there and listening to those around us and getting involved and even going to the student center and involved.
So yeah, so to echo what everybody else said, I do believe that there are a lot of organizations here that are underrepresented. I think a good way, this is just an idea to put out there, but maybe having something like a monthly newsletter from every organization that gets sent out to the student body, kind of saying, this is what we did this past month. We were able to run these events, and this is what we have upcoming. I think that alone will, I think that'll get a lot more people involved with the smaller clubs, get their names out there. Because, as Emily said earlier, Instagram sometimes doesn't always work. It's kind of hit or miss. Either 1,000 people are going to view it, or 100 people are going to look at it. So having a newsletter that gets sent out to everybody's email, which we check 20 times a day, at least I do. I feel like a lot of people are going to be able to see that, and then might even find a new club to join.
So for the second question, I'm going to start down on this end. The question is, what experience do you have with advocacy that will help you in leadership and advocacy that will help you be an effective and productive senator?
Yeah, so back when I was a senior in high school, my school was running this campaign for sustainability, and at the time I was the president of the Sustainability Club, and I found out that one of the companies that they were using to kind of replace, well, the whole thing is water fountains on campus. So the company that they were using turned out not to be as sustainable as they thought. So I ran a campaign at my high school to raise some money and get a brand that was actually sustainable. So advocating for sustainability on campus at the time was something that I took a lot of pride in, and something that I was able to fundraise for and get a lot of people involved, and a lot of people's voices were heard during that time. So that was a good moment.
Personally, me, during my tenure in high school, I served on our student senate as a part of the mental health committee. But one thing that might not strike as something that could be more advocacy is I also was a summer camp counselor at a small science center in my town in Pennsylvania. While I was there, I was more so less of a teacher and more of an advocate for the students that I was teaching. I felt that while I was there, I heard all of my students' voices, all of the little small campers' voices, and all of the things that they wanted to do, all the things that they wanted to have fun doing. And I take that to management, I take that to my to the parents and get their opinions and then try and create lesson plans based off of that. It's not really your way of thinking about advocacy in the way you might think. It's kind of a different perspective, but I kind of like that perspective.
In high school, I was part of 3 different community service-based clubs. So I feel like I was able to dive more into the community as the high school in general, and then the community as just civilians. And with that, I was able to see the struggles, what people had to do, having a lack of food or a lack of a clean shelter to live in, and all this stuff. And I just feel like knowing that you can't advocate for the people around you unless you know your audience. So once you become more personal with them, you can then strive to fix the problems.
So I have pretty good experience when it comes to leadership and stuff like that. I was a member of my NHS, I was drumline section leader, I was in multiple youth leadership programs, I was a member of Tri-M Honors Music Society, if anyone knows what that is. But I feel like with all that experience, the biggest things I learned is that you gotta be able to listen to people and you gotta be able to learn. And what I mean by that is you gotta be able to listen to everyone around you and be able to learn from what they're saying so it can help better you. Because you might have your ideas of what you want to do and how you want to do things, but if you're not gonna learn to adapt to what works, you really aren't gonna be successful in what you're trying to achieve.
I want to echo the things that people have said before as well. Specifically, Kayla said something about how it's also so very important to connect with people, and that is something that in terms of advocacy that I want to do. But in regards to experience I have in addition to SGA, in high school I co-led Sustainability Week, and we had a bunch of different activities in regards to digital competitions and an upcycling project, which was an upcycling workshop, which was our biggest project that we had for that week. We basically had our secondary students from grade 6 to 10. We helped to first gather materials. We did a lot of recycling and just kind of campaigning and making sure that people knew, oh, here, please, instead of throwing something away, please make sure you put it in one of these bins that can be found anywhere on our campus. And then we ourselves had to talk to people, talk to different artists who were upcycling artists, make sure that they could come in, but also do it ourselves and teach the students ourselves because we did have experience in that way as well.
So my major is forensic psychology, and I'm minoring in child advocacy. So right now I'm currently learning how to be the best advocate I can be for any group of people. I want to be a correctional psychologist, so basically I want to be a professional advocate for people. But as far as experience, not only through my classes am I learning how to be a great advocate, but when I was in high school, I helped to start my own nonprofit organization that was very successful, and it was to advocate for children who were in need in our local community. So I was able to put on a very big fundraiser and just understand, listen to these children around our community and hear what they need. One of our biggest issues was after one of the biggest hurricanes we've had, and listening to the families, what they needed, and then fundraising for that.
Yes, so the question is, what experience do you have in leadership and or advocacy that will help you be an effective senator?
So when it comes to leadership experience, I am currently the secretary of a fairly new club here on campus, Future Military Leaders. It was created just last semester. I am currently in RTC, which does give me quite a lot of leadership experience because it constantly switches around what roles you're doing and who you're working with, and trying to learn how to work with new personalities constantly to achieve a completely different goal than it was just a few weeks ago. But overall, when it comes to my experience with advocacy, when I was in high school, I was in junior RTC and I was a battalion commander, and at the time I was representing and leading a very diverse group of cadets, and I had to be the bridge between them and the cadre at the time who were less than valuable with their views on things.
Well, thank you all. We will now move on to the secretary debates. Okay, so the first question that I have for you, the secretary is responsible for keeping the records and ensuring smooth communication, both within and externally of the SGA. What makes you the best candidate for this role?
Alright, so, hi everyone, my name's JD, if you don't know me.
Yeah, so sorry, you can do your introduction first.
Oh, okay, we'll reflect back on that question a little later. Alright, hi everyone, my name's JD, I am from Cedarville, New Jersey. Probably don't know where that is, it's the Armpit, New Jersey. So, anyway, here on campus I'm involved in a couple of things. First of all, I'm a freshman here on campus studying computer engineering. My fall semester, I applied to be a freshman representative, and then my current semester spring, decided to become a senator. So it's been a really great experience since then. On campus, I'm also a Panther Pride ambassador, so you might see me around giving tours or having lunch with some future Panthers on campus, as well as I am part of Greek Life. I'm a member of ATO. Off campus, I do a lot with my nonprofit I work for. I work for Lions Clubs International, if you ever heard of them. They're a global nonprofit organization that does community service. As well as with them, I also do a lot of events, such as this past spring, I was at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. I was talking about youth advocacy within community service. So that is me. Thank you.
Now the first question for you. The secretary is responsible for keeping records and ensuring smooth transition, both internally and externally. What makes you the best candidate for this role?
All right, great. So first of all, what makes me the best candidate for this role, especially with everything going on? So number one, I am a very big note taker. I will write the notes about the smallest things, the biggest things. It might seem obvious to you about some of the things I write down. I'll literally write down anything that I need to, especially what would be helpful with transitions, especially that. Because I know coming into this role, I've never been secretary of SGA before. I'm running just as a freshman here. So I would take anything for granted. So even if someone wrote me, like, hey, this is the basic template that you could use for this template you can use for that, would be very helpful. Also with reaching out to people and making contact with others, I'm the social chair for my fraternity. I'm used to reaching out and definitely getting people like, hey, have you filled out this form yet? Hey, can you please do this for me? Because if there's any group of people in the world that will not do anything, it's fraternity guys. They will wait till the last minute to do anything. So I'm definitely used to reaching out one-on-one or in groups, even though in groups it doesn't tend to work a lot of the time. Emailing, texting, sending you a Snapchat, you going, ooh, JD snapped me, nope, did you fill out that form yet? Did you sign up for this? I will personally reach out to you in any way possible. I will be there one-on-one. I will be in your DMs.
The second question, how do you plan to keep SGA meetings organized and ensure accurate documentation and keep track of things such as deadlines, events, and tasks?
All right, well, let me start with the second part of the question, then move back to the first part of the question. The second part is if you were to look at my Google Calendar right now, you'd think I was a crazy person. I literally will do any event on there. I put my own birthday in my Google Calendar just so I can get excited when I see it. But even if it's something small as, hey, at this time, at this day, I want to study a little bit. Even though, it's not something due at that time or a task that needs to be done then, I like to just think it out in the head and like to visualize everything, even if it's something that's small as, during this time I'm going to go get lunch or have a snack break. So definitely I'm going to have a big calendar done. Even open sharing the calendar with other senators if they want to see like, hey, at this time we're having this event here, because I know usually especially with our AED we'll have a spreadsheet full of all the events that we're having, but sometimes it's easier to visualize how close you are to an event or how far we are from an event when you can see it on a physical calendar. On top of that, the first part of the question
was
note taking.
How do you plan to keep SGA meetings organized?
Yes. How I plan on keeping SGA meetings organized, especially with meeting minutes and stuff like that. I am a big fan of AI, and people in the room might be like, well, what are you doing with AI? I have a voice recorder I use for all my lectures. It records, basically anything talking that's going on, and in that way I can properly, one, have the recording to listen back exactly on what was going on and what was being said. So say if we're in the meeting minutes and we're having a debate whether something was said or something wasn't said, I can go back, listen to it right then and there, pull it up on the spot, and we can verify. As well as on top of that, everything's going to be documented in detail. With having a proper recording, I don't have to worry about rushing ahead to keep up with notes. When I can, later on, I can go and tweak things if I wanted to. Like, I can write very minimal in the moment, and then when I can go back, I can write more in detail about what's exactly going on, what prices are being paid for things, especially. Oh, all right.
So the final question that I have for you, how will you
because we know that right now we utilize our emails a lot here, and I'm gonna look around this room and I'm gonna know some of you, some personally, that I know don't check their email as often as they probably should, and so they'll be like, hey, you know, I never knew that this event was going on, or I never knew that we have general every Wednesday at 8 p.m. So using more platforms rather than just someone's email, I'm full into really publicizing on our Instagram account, hey, we're having this event at this time, and just posting it on repeat on our stories and stuff like that. Because we could post it on the story the day of the event's happening, but sometimes it's too late because people already made plans for certain things. And if we want good attendance at these events that SGA and our student government is funding, we want to make sure that people know well in advance what's going on. So utilizing multiple platforms other than just email would be the way to go for that one.
Perfect, thank you, Judy. Next, we will be moving on to our treasurer candidates. If our treasurer candidates please come up.
Sorry.
So for these candidates, it will be same thing, minute and a half, 3 questions. However, since there are 2 of you, if you wish to add a sort of rebuttal, if there's anything that you'd like to add based on an opponent's response, you will have 30 seconds to do so. Are there any questions before we start? No. Perfect. Well, if you guys want to go first and introduce each other.
Go ahead.
Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Kieran Lucas. I'm the current treasurer of the SGA. I've been in this role not quite the entire time because there were weird things that happened with appointments. It's a whole story, it's long. I've been in SGA for the past 3 years. I've been the senator, committee chair, and again, most recently treasurer. I've seen just about everything SGA can throw at anyone. And yeah. Oh, I'm an aerospace engineering major with a minor in physics.
Hello, my name is Pablo. I study physics and finance. Well, I did a full term with SGA. I participated in academics, SAFC, and rules committee. Well, basically, I'm planning to run for treasurer because what I'm aiming for my career is what I'm doing, is what I would be doing as a treasurer, which is managing a lot of money, right?
So the first question that I have for you, and I'll start with Kieran, is what experience do you have with budgeting or financial management, and how do you plan to apply it if selected as treasurer?
So like I already mentioned, I am the treasurer this year. We entirely revamped how we track budgets because last year's stuff was illegible. I was trying to track numbers from last year and I couldn't, it's just bad. We've completely revamped how we track things, and then I have gone through and automated everything. It is quite literally as easy for me to put in a number and a name, and it does everything else for us. It's made purchasing, allocating, all that stuff so much easier. And in the next term, I'll be able to apply what we've already had and make it more efficient, and also just dedicate more time to the other things that matter, other than just putting numbers in an Excel sheet.
Well, for me, first of all, as my career in finance, I've dealt with a lot of projects that involve just managing money. Even if it's fake, I still have to figure out my accounting details where the credit and debit goes, right? And I'm very detail oriented, so every dollar has to deal with accounts. I've also done individual projects, which involve just being in a market. I have to do portfolio management with a lot of assets that my family owns. And as well as being founder of one of the clubs, which is the investment club that is going to start moving money provided by the College of Business, is to start moving it as our own money in the market.
I'll take a little pause here just in case people want to take seats. I see a lot of
Maybe tell them to move in.
Feel free. Feel free to sit down. I was like, I looked over.
Thanks for checking my shoe.
Does this camera pick up audio?
Yeah.
Great. Oh.
Blended.
Yeah, that's a problem I've been researching a lot about. So I've talked to a lot of students. Many of them are leaders in their own organizations, and they told me that there's two problems that they're facing right now. The first one is that a lot of people do not know what the students' fee and facilities fee is for. We know the facilities fee is like a given. It's to keep a lot of facility organizations like on check. But the student fee just shows up as that. There's no like bio to it. So well, I'm planning to like do certain programs, maybe during orientation when we like show what SGA is about to incoming students, that how we manage our funds and where do they come from, because we're talking about like a fee of $120, which it's not, like it's a lot of money for some people, you know. And also, another problem is that a lot of new clubs that I know, their leaders told me that they did not know how the SAFC funding program works. They had no idea how to like ask for funds. And I feel like if we have a workshop or office hours that my committee could like, or like the SAFC committee could work with in order for the clubs to know how to access those funds, would be very beneficial and improve transparency.
Kind of bouncing off that a little bit, at the leadership symposium, I did mention to all the RSOs, that fee, essentially $50 of that goes to SAFC every semester. I can provide breakdowns for that further if you want, but as for transparency as a whole, I've brought back the circle in general meetings. If you don't know what that is, it's the entire spending of SAFC, and honestly, I try to be as transparent as possible. If anyone asks me, hey, what does this budget look like? I will show you. I don't care. I will show you our budget. I can tell you right now that we have X amount of money left over or being spent or any of those numbers. I'm not going to quote them just because I don't know why. The other side of transparency being how SAFC works. When I came into the role, I completely rewrote the treasurer's manual. Anyone who's read it, they will see that it is a 19-page document. I'm sorry it's that long. That is just me trying to get as much information out as possible. My booking link is always on the SAFC Engage. I put my phone number and my email. If you want to send me a carrier pigeon, I will answer somehow. I try to be as open and communicative as possible.
And then the final question kind of builds off of that one. It kind of has two parts, so if you want to address one first and then the other, feel free. What steps will you take to educate student organizations on how to request and manage funds effectively? And will your approach be changing between larger and smaller student organizations? Kieran, if you'd like to start.
So Pablo already kind of mentioned this. There was a plan to have a treasurer's training. Again, I was appointed at a very odd time. There was no time to put it in. If elected again, I will make sure that that does actually happen. As per just like now, that's what my booking link's for. I have trained at least a dozen clubs just by meeting with them for an hour. I walk them through the entire process. I make sure that they know what they need to know. And as per training those clubs, I don't treat big and small any different. Small ones, I try and push them more to open events because they don't have the fundraising or the budgets or anything else. But for me, a big club and a small club requesting are the same. There shouldn't be any difference between AIAA and a new club that just started and they're trying to get off the ground. I give them the same information, I give them the same depth of detail. My goal is to make everyone knowledgeable of the funding requests and how they can get money, and how they can raise money, and how they can manage their money. Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned before, the idea of having a workshop / office hours as a treasurer would like be very beneficial, especially for new clubs. And well, yeah, I'd probably improve or try to do something with our PR committee in order to like address like the whole student body about dealing with the money. Because yeah, I like the idea of like mentioning it in the leadership symposium, but unfortunately, not everyone goes there. It's mostly leaders in their organizations. We're missing out on a lot of people, and the best way to contact them is definitely through working through PR. Also, I can see the sides of both corners when it comes to organizations.
Perfect, well, thank you both. Now we're on to the vice president debates. If we're ready for this. So it will be the same process for you all. It will be 90 seconds to answer 3 different questions. However, for each question, if you would like to rebuttal one or both of your opponents, essentially their explanations or their answers, or add on to it, feel free to request it, and we can proceed as such. Do you guys have any questions before we begin? Okay, so we will start at this end. The first question is, how do you define the role of vice president? Oh, I'm so sorry, introductions, I keep doing that.
Chelsea's just so excited.
The problem is I know.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, if you'd like to start with introductions.
Hi everybody, my name is Emma Brown and I'm running for Vice President this year. I'm a sophomore and a rising junior studying animal learning in the School of Psychology. I'm currently the Student Community Committee, which as you'll learn tonight in our general meeting was previously known as the DEIA Committee, and I'm really excited to continue.
My name is Slater Kanyu. I'm an aeronautical science with flight major. I am the current secretary of SGA. I'm also involved in ATO as well. So.
Hi, I'm Iska Halberns. I am a FOA fellow. I work at two labs here on campus, one in biochemistry and one in toxicology. I'm a biomedical engineering and biochemistry student with a minor in nanotechnology, and I am the current parliamentarian.
Now to the first question, which we will again start again at this side. How do you define the role of the vice president, and what unique qualities do you bring to the position?
So in terms of what the Vice President does, there's 2 sides to it. So within SGA, they work a lot with the committees. As a committee head right now, I understand the Vice President's role is to help, look over, and kind of guide the committee heads and all the work they're doing. And I feel like personally, I'm prepared to take on that role. I have a lot of experience working with the Vice President, and so I feel like I could flip that around to ensure that the committee heads have all the resources they need, all the support, and all the confidence, because it is a big job to step into as a senator. On the other side of that, the Vice President does help the President a lot with all of their jobs, and I feel like I'm a really good team worker. I'm more than happy to be on exec as a whole and help everybody with whatever they would need.
Emma did just sum it up pretty well, so I'm going to be repeating basically the same thing. The Vice President's job is to oversee the committees and the Senate. The Vice President needs to work one-on-one with the committee heads and the senators, and basically be a communication, like, there for communication, a communication guy.
What makes me a good candidate for this? I'm a parliamentarian. I've been very involved on campus. I've held presidencies in other organizations. I believe that I will be a great collaborator with everyone who is running, no matter who wins any race. Because here at FITV we are one family, and even though we might have disagreements, we can still cooperate and work together as one.
So the next question will be beginning done at this end. The question is, what is your vision for the Student Government Association, and how do you plan to internally support the association's goals?
I think my first goal is kind of place it back within the students. I feel, no offense to fellow senators here, I feel like we are the top people. We are people who are not socializing as much. We're not giving effort into interacting with our clubs. So many of us are in one organization and not any other. And that is a struggle there. So I envision us being by the students for the students, and truly making sure that our office hours are approachable, that we as a Senate can have a better reputation, that the House is more engaged with us. And as the Vice President, I would support that by reaching out to every single public organization to introduce myself, and continuing to reach out and say, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything we can help with? Which is also every single one of our jobs here in SGA. I yield my time.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, so the question is, what is your vision for the Student Government Association and how do you plan to internally support the organization's goals?
So first thing is, overall, I want to continue to build on transparency with the students. I feel like sometimes maybe we can even just communicate a little quicker, or get out more information. Sometimes I feel like students aren't really aware of what SGA is doing, and that's a problem because we do a lot for you guys, and it's important that you guys are aware of what we're doing. So that is one of my main goals, is just to, as an exec member and as vice president, to just continue building on transparency. But as, sorry, what was the second half?
How do you plan to internally support the organization's goals?
Okay, sorry. So I would just continue working with the committee heads, working with senators, and ways we can work together by just being that, once again, someone they can communicate to, someone they can go to for help. I can give them the answers they need, and working with them and letting you guys know as well what we have done in those committees, making sure you guys are aware is my overall goal, I guess.
So my overall vision for SGA, looking at a broader perspective, teachers and faculty are here for the students. The workers in student affairs and all of our other staff, they're here for the students. SGA, we are the students that are here for the students. And so we need to work with them individually, and then from an internal standpoint, making sure all of our initiatives and all of our events, again, they're for the students. We can every day just post events that we want to see or do things, answer the questions that we want to answer. But if we actually work with the students, we will be the voice for them in doing that.
And then the final question for you, we will be starting down at this end again. What are the biggest challenges that you would say are facing students today, and how will you ensure that the SGA addresses them effectively?
We have a very diverse population on campus, and with that I think it's difficult to pin one overall problem that everybody is facing. Each of our students are facing a different problem. They're facing 10 different problems that we can address as best as we can. And so with that, there's not one fix-all solution. So I think that's part of the reason we have different committees that each have a different focus. We can help each group of students as needed, rather than putting all of our effort into one thing that may or may not impact all our students. Would you mind repeating the second part of the question?
Yeah, no problem. How will you ensure that SGA addresses the challenges effectively?
So yeah, with that, I think our committees and their individual focuses like academics, student community, they are a great kind of channel to actually work through the problems that students are facing. When we get individual concerns, complaints, comments, that is where we'll funnel all of our resources, our energy, and we'll just continue with what we're already doing because we're doing a great job so far.
So as I said earlier, I want to work on transparency, and this relates directly to a big problem is I think there is a problem with communication on our campus at times. I feel like sometimes things do not get addressed or things do not get communicated to the students, and even being an SGA exec member currently, I feel like it's the same way sometimes we're not even addressed to sometimes. A big problem recently that you guys know of is 37 hours given where there was a whole fundraising problem. That probably could have been communicated better. We didn't know about it. And so a big way to just fix communication on our campus is to work with our faculty and our staff here and try to hear from them more often, try to get more answers from them more often, or even meet with them more often. And a way that SGA can also just even communicate more is an idea I might have is like possibly doing like a monthly recap of what SGA did for each month, just so you guys are also aware of what is happening. So, yeah.
Awesome. So a problem I think a lot of our students face, obviously not every single one of us, is a lot of us are isolated. Whether that's because we're working 12 to 13 hours a day, studying, going to classes, going to work, having jobs, or if it's because you don't feel like campus is a home to you. And for me, I think that we can fix this with more communication. I feel like more community outreach, more events from SGA, more transparency about what we do, who we are, that we are all students here for you would really help. And I would support this internally by maybe doing more mental health awareness, partnering with the Poser Center, making sure our committees have everything they need so that they can put on successful events, pushing us back into events, not just like ideas, and making sure that we are truly connecting with every club on campus and RSO to see what do they need help with. And making sure that people know about resources on campus, the tutoring center perhaps, or the mental health resources, the hotlines that we have available in Brevard, the addiction that we have in Brevard, domestic violence is often an issue for people our age. So to me, making sure that no student feels alone. I yield my time.
And thank you all. Last but not least, our presidential candidate. Okay, so there will be 3 questions for you as well, except there will be a 2-minute time limit for each of these questions. If you would like to go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I'm Bryson, I'm a sophomore. I've been in SGA for 2 years. The first year as the PR committee chair, this year as Quality of Life committee chair. I'm from Westchester, Pennsylvania, and while I've been here, I've held many different leadership positions on campus, in SGA obviously. I'm on the exec board in Chi-Phi of ISC. I ran the volleyball club for like a year, but yeah.
You ready for the first question?
Yeah.
So the first question is, how do you plan to ensure that the Student Government Association remains a strong and effective voice for the student body?
So one thing I was planning on doing, like to make us more efficient, make us more effective, because we're obviously hurting for numbers here, is a lot of the positions, especially liaison positions, will be merged. They're going to be consolidated, so that there's less people or less positions that aren't filled, so that we have more people who are willing to do those positions and give those people more to do. And on top of that, being a better voice for the students includes being aware of what the students want, because when you're in like a leadership position, you're in like one small section of the student population, like whatever you're involved in is what you hear. I think a great thing we did this year was the golf cart trivia and stuff like that, just going around asking people on campus or at market days, because we're out there every time, but we don't use it to its fullest potential, is making it a point to like actually go up to people and ask, make fun videos out of it, do whatever, because not only will that let us hear what everybody else wants that we don't typically interact with on a day-to-day basis, but also if we're posting videos, like making it a whole community thing, then more people will want to come out to it, more people will want to see themselves like on the Instagram, like show their friends, repost it, everything like that.
The next question I have for you is, how do you plan to foster a productive relationship between the students, faculty, and administration of Florida Tech?
This goes back to kind of communication as well. One of the things I wanted to do, and Slater kind of touched on it, is every month I want to have a video put out like through email, also on the Instagram, of just talking about everything we've done that past month, everything that other organizations may be doing, or like big events they have, everything other campus departments are doing. Like there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes that is not public at all. All those like apps we have, the random apps, they're getting deleted, like merged into one, and it's gonna be like an actual useful app that like shows parking and everything. Like there's so much just stuff like that going up like behind the scenes that nobody knows about. And just being able to be in a position and communicate with all these different clubs, organizations, different campus departments, will be able to give me a full picture of what's going on. I'll be able to go through that, figure out what people care about, and relay that information to the student body.
And then the final question that I have for you tonight is, how do you plan to hold yourself and other student government association members accountable for their responsibilities and their required duties?
So luckily we have JD running unopposed for secretary, and he'll be great at keeping everything in order with attendance, all that stuff. during my time here, like as my time as a committee chair, I've taken my attendance pretty seriously and like what people do, like I keep track of all that. So I know like what I can give people, where people need to be picked up maybe, and then if people aren't doing anything, then they have to go. Cause that position can be filled, even if it's not their fault, that position can still be filled by someone who has the time and wants to make the effort to do something, that can benefit everybody on the campus. Another thing with organization, like I said, consolidating liaison positions, integrating Panther Media Group more with PR, so we have them as another avenue to reach out to students and hear different opinions. But everything that I've seen comes down to organization. Like we can have like the best students here on campus, the most organized, the most driven people in this organization on campus. But if nothing's organized, nobody's on the same page, we're not talking, then nothing's gonna get done, and we're just sitting around wasting our time. Like T. Grizzly says, we don't got order around this bitch before we start, we finish. So.